Good afternoon. This is Jim Whitehead of All Power Group and Phoenix Animal. Today we're going to talk about, I'm sure you haven't heard about the bombing of Iran. So we're going to talk about that and kind of get a feeling for how the animals, because, I have an animal team that's now running kind of like a shadow government and putting forth plans that generally would work a lot better than what the current folks are doing. So it sounds kind of exciting. Now, at the very top, you'll see a link, and that's and this is in a series, by the way, the World Series? No, series. And what you see, the link is my original video that introduces you to most of the members of the animal government. And today we're going to talk about the big bunker buster, and you're going to hear from both the assistant defense secretary and the defense secretary. So I hope you enjoy it, and here we go. Take a look at, there we go. There's our wonderful kind of B-2. Very interesting. Now you see they're dropping the bomb, and now they're hitting whatever, and the... Thank you, Captain Whitehead. We appreciate it. Okay, let's talk about the immediate impact and setbacks related to the Iranian bombing. We have to have it where animals tell the way it is without any embellishment, lies, etc., etc. Okay, we're expecting with the bombing, there was significant damage. Reports indicate severe damage to key sites like Natanz, centrifuge enrichment program, Fordo, the underground enrichment facility, and Isfahan, a uranium conversion facility. The Arik heavy water reactor was also likely destroyed. What does this mean? Reduced enrichment capacity, the destruction of many centrifuges and critical infrastructure has severely set back Iran's ability to enrich uranium. Contamination risks. While not widespread, some chemical and radiological contamination has been detected within the facilities at Natanz and Isfahan. The operational Bashar power plant remains a major concern, as a strike there could lead to significant radioactive release across the region. Intelligence challenges. The destruction of known monitored sites could lead Iran to move its nuclear activities to covert, harder-to-monitor locations, complicating future intelligence gatherings. Hello, I am the Assistant Defense Secretary, and I want to relate to you some of the additional information we have related to the Iranian bunker bomb incident. Okay, we're going to have increased determination to acquire a weapon. Some analysts suggest the bombing could strengthen Iran's resolve to develop a nuclear weapon as a deterrent rather than deterring them. Withdrawal from the NPT/IAEA cooperation. Iran's parliament is reportedly preparing legislation to suspend
cooperation with the IAEA, which could include ending inspections and surveillance. This would severely impact international oversight of their program. We could be seeing a reconstruction of program. Iran has stated its intention to restore its nuclear program and prevent any interruption in production. While heavily damaged, Iranian nuclear knowledge cannot be destroyed, and they may seek to rebuild or find a new way to pursue their goals. Shift to covert operations. There's a risk Iran could shift smaller, dispersed, or repurposed civilian sites like universities for nuclear activities, making them much harder to detect and monitor. We could have escalation of the conflict. Iran has already retaliated with missile attacks on a U.S. base in Qatar. Further retaliation, potentially through proxies or targeting regional energy infrastructure, could lead to a wider regional war. We are definitely in what we call a diplomatic stalemate. The strikes have likely complicated any potential return to diplomacy, such as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, as Iran views the attacks as a fundamental blow to non-proliferation efforts. Now, talking about international reactions, while some countries welcome the efforts to incapacitate Iran's nuclear program, others, including the UN, condemn the strikes as a dangerous escalation that threatens international peace and security. Now, what they're doing is calls for de-escalation and diplomacy. Between you and I and the wall, this should have been done before we did anything, but that's just my animal instinct. Many international actors are urging a return to diplomacy and to de-escalation to prevent further chaos in the region.
Anyway, hey, it's nice to have the team talking about what's going on and what they would have done in the same situation, and it certainly would have worked out much better. Now, I'm also a spokesperson, and we're going to just do a little recap here, and I appreciate you being here. Overall, while the bombings have undeniably set back Iran's nuclear program physically, the long-term outcomes are uncertain and fraught with risk. They could lead to a more determined and less transparent Iranian nuclear program, heightened regional instability, and a severe blow to international non-proliferation efforts. So, just to recap this whole thing, I think if you learn anything, if you've got a child that's old enough to learn, just say fighting generally doesn't get you anywhere. You might think you've accomplished something, and then that person does something bad against you. I mean, we go on and on and on. And, you know, the Iranians have been working on nuclear weapons for many, 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 many years. And we're acting like, well, you know, we dropped some bombs on, and yeah, they're pretty heavy bombs, but do you think they might have already moved some of that stuff? I really am amazed at the kind of shallow depth of thought to think that, oh yeah, they're going to do something in the next week or two, whatever, and we've already moved our stuff. And, it's like the old saying of many years, whatever you do, if you see a rat, don't corner it. Because, yes, you might be big. The rat is small, but it's a hell of a lot more ferocious than what I would be. So the point here is the animals have a point of ensuring that there's a better way of doing things. A couple of days ago, they brought up what would have been a better plan for working with Iran, because remember, they're under heavy sanctions, and they have been for a long time. And it's like with anybody that gets used to whatever they're under, it's kind of get used to it, or they kind of work around it and solve the problem. So, the plan that was brought up a couple days ago by the team was, work with them, be honest with them, ask for, check and verify, but also give them a carrot by saying, each period of being and responding is going to have it where, if you don't do anything for 6 months, we will release this amount of money, and if it's food issues, yada, yada, yada. And you basically kind of, work together on this. And the last thing I'll say, I'm 75 years old, so I've watched the Middle East. I love history, but I've watched the Middle East ever since I was able to say Middle East. And I've always said it is never a dull moment. And if one country isn't after another country or in battle with another country, it just goes on and on and on. And it's sad that one area of the world is so uniquely terrible, if I could say it that way, that it never gets to the point of they've finally come up with a formula that allows everybody to, I don't want to say everybody to get along. I don't want to be too unrealistic. But, I always look, and I've said 1,000 times, and as I've gotten older, I more or less say, you get more with honey than molasses. Now, I'm sure you've heard that saying before, and it's actually very, very true. And other than that, I want to thank you very much for being here. And, every couple days, the team is going to be helping with solutions on this. So again, I want to thank you very, very much for being here, and please take care. And thanks again.